I'm Sandy. Jerry and I have been married for 30 years. We've attended Hope for probably 5 or 6 years. The last couple of years have been incredibly challenging. 2 years ago this month, I lost my job, and 7 days later, he lost his job. A couple of weeks after that, I was told by the doctors that I had MS. It's been a struggle to stay focused on what really matters and to trust God in all things. Finances were tight, but no matter how small the bank account seemed, God always provided. He always provided. We always had a roof over our head, everything that we needed, and then some. We have extremely old vehicles. There's nothing in the driveway that's less than 10 years old, nothing with less than 150,000 miles on it. And when a person has a disability, they discover there are certain things that are challenging. For me, I discovered that I can't drive certain vehicles. Well, we have a GMC Safari that I love and that is extremely easy for me to drive. And about 2 months ago, it was totaled. And it was still drivable, but I knew that we were living on borrowed time. And so I prayed grace, and I began to pray, Lord, you know the need, and you've met our needs, and I'm trusting you to provide for us. Of course, the human in me wanted God to rain down money from heaven so I could go buy a vehicle, or I wanted God to give me a vehicle. And as is the case most of the time, God doesn't operate the way we think that we want him to or that he should. He does it his way. I was driving down the highway and happened to pass a little dealership there in Republic that I would normally not pay any attention to. I would just drive right on by. But something caught my eye, and it was a Safari van. And so I called Jerry and I said, we need to go look at this van. And we discovered that this vehicle was in immaculate condition, that it even smelled new. When we asked about it, it was a 2002, and it had 49,000 miles on it. And I just knew in my heart that that was the vehicle that God had provided for me, and it was even in my favorite color. And it was at that moment that I thought, Lord, you care enough to give me something that you know I need. And it did my heart good to know that whoever had this vehicle had taken care of it. They obviously valued it, and that made it special. It's like, Lord, you had someone out there taking care of this because you knew that the day was going to come when I needed it, and that you would make it a possibility for me. As is human nature, I thought God would rain money down from heaven and give me the money to pay for this vehicle outright, or that he would just give me a vehicle. But that's not the way he chose to do it. God's lesson to me was, why can't you trust me for the payments like you trust me for other things? And I realized that God is teaching me. He's teaching me that he's bigger than my finances, that just because I can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I know that God is bigger than any problem. I know that God is bigger than any bank account. I know that countless times when I was in my darkest place, when I didn't want to see the sun come up the next morning because it was too hard, because I was afraid, because I just didn't know how quickly he would respond. He always sent a word, a piece, someone, something countless times over and over and over. When I would cry out to him, I would hear his voice, or someone would call me, or someone would walk up to me at church and say, Sandy, God told me that everything's going to be okay. And that's my hope for each and every person in this church, that no matter how dark it gets, how hopeless it seems, that you remember how big he is, that nothing is impossible for him, that he knows absolutely everything there is to know about each and every one of us, right down to our favorite color, right down to the most minute detail. He doesn't miss anything. And he shows up when we need him most.